excellent start, the old bear appears to be wilting a bit in the Missouri heat. And when you're powered by Mopar at the Dodge Monster Drags, there's no place to hide. Ozark Empire Fairgrounds in Springfield, Missouri, it's the Dodge Monster Drags. Now, just past the halfway point of the season, Team Bigfoot is on a roll. The Bigfoot drivers have won 5, count them, 5 straight events. As a result, Dan Runte now leads the PENDA Point Series Championship. In the top 5, we have 2 factory-backed Dodges, 2 factory-backed Fords, and only 1 privateer. Here with more on that story is Army Armstrong.
Gary Porter, the privateer you were talking about, Gary Lee. He is the man that's carrying the colors for Chevrolet, and he said he's not afraid to put his dog in this PENDA Points fight at all. As a matter of fact, being in the top 5 is right where he wants to be. He says he can hang on and win this thing, but it's not coming easy for him. This is the 3rd race at Springfield. He's moved over to the 2nd round. In the 1st race, he went out in the 1st round. The 2nd race here, he went out in the 2nd round. So he's advanced now to where he needs to be. Why does he need to be here? Real simple. The 2 Dodges we talked about earlier, Fred Schaefer is on the trailer after the 1st round, and the other Dodge didn't even make the starting field. The kid in the Chevrolet says, keep an eye on me. I'm going to the other end tonight.
Well, in round 1, we had a battle of the Schaefers, and Monster Patrol buried barefoot. As Army just told you, Fred Schaefer is on the trailer, and Monster Patrol takes the victory.
Fred, what happened out there?
Had some handling problems between the cars. It's real loose out there, Army, and quite honestly, that horsepower got away from me between the cars, and I was worried about hitting the other truck in the other lane.
Another big upset, round 1. Brian Welsh in the far lane taking on Kirk Dabney, and Welsh takes out Dabney. And later, Army talked to Brian.
Good close run between you and the Overkill Ford.
Yeah, it was. You know, we still got the small motor in for this weekend, but we're putting it down the track. We're putting all this little 477 can put out here.
Also in round 1, Alan Pizzo and the Predator just could not keep up with Dan Patrick in Sampson. We have Pizzo in the near lane, and we have Dan Patrick in the far lane. Sampson took that victory. So there are some highlights from round 1. We're coming back with round 2 here in Springfield. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds here in Springfield, Missouri for the Dodge Monster Drags. We are ready for round 2, and once again the fast losers are Overkill and the Boogie Van. They come back for round 2 competition. Coming up first, we'll have Paul Schaefer, a surprise winner in round 1 against the privateer Gary Porter. A couple of privateers going at it here in round 2.
Well, another side of the story is you got 2 Chevrolets going against each other, but Paul Schaefer is really starting to get a lot of respect in this sport. And, you know, like I say, he's coming over from another form of motor racing, and he's getting a handle on this thing. He's not the underdog he was. Meanwhile, this guy, the King Privateer, if you will, nicknamed Elvis, I don't know why they call him that, runs out of his own pocketbook out of Waitsboro, North Carolina, and seems to always be in the middle. Like we say, he stays around the top 5 all the time.
Well, he won it all here a couple of seasons back. Right now is in the top 5 in points as he stages that Chevrolet against the Schaefer Chevrolet.
2 chippies side by side in Springfield.
They weren't side by side for long.
They started side by side.
Well, Gary Porter at 5:31 takes the victory. Obviously a mechanical problem for the Monster Patrol. And so we're looking right at Gary Porter coming right at you. And here's how you win a race in monster truck competition. Porter, the Carolina Crusher, takes the victory, moves on, and he's with Army.
Gary win a race by winning 1 lap at a time in this sport.
That's right, Army. You know, with the lanes as close as they are, it was a really big decision, you know, which lane to go to. And, you know, luckily, you know, I guess I chose the right lane, and I think Paul had a little bit of trouble there on the starting line also.
How about the rest of the race? You feel comfortable?
Yeah, I really do. You know, the lanes, I think it's going to sort of go back and forth the rest of the night, which one will be the winning lane, and it's going to be tough from here on out.
Makes for better competition, though, when both the lanes are just about the same. There's Dan Patrick and Sampson, and as he begins to stage, there is the moving violation of Brian Welsh. We're seeing Brian Welsh begin to move up in the competition as well.
Seeing a lot of movement by the privateers. This track, because of the intense heat and everything, is really taking a lot of the big horsepower guys and made them very humble. They realize that the guys with the less horsepower in this heat can be competitive.
Evens out the competition field just a bit.
Exactly. That's why we're seeing some of these guys in the second round we haven't seen before. Meanwhile, Patrick rolls into this lane. This is the old-timer. He and Dirk came to this sport about the same time.
He'll appreciate you saying that, I'm sure.
Both drivers working into the lights.
Good close run. I think it was Sampson. I think Dan Patrick, yes, 5:28, but a good close run. Fans love to watch that. So Brian Welsh with a good, strong effort just is eked out at the finish line by a fender. And let's go down trackside and visit with Dan Patrick.
Dan, you know the only way you're going to win a fight is take a punch at him. That's exactly what you're doing out there now with the high-tech Sampson.
Well, you know, we're back. I think we're back in the game. You know, Eric Tack filled in for a couple races, did me an excellent job. My back's feeling better after that bad hit in Bloomsburg. I think we got it dialed in tonight, Army. I think we're going to get there.
You look comfortable with the truck for the first time in a long time.
Right. You know, we've faced a lot of battles in the last couple of weeks, and I think we've overcome them. But, yeah, it's real comfortable. I think I got my shifting pattern down. It's a good ride. It's fun again.
Well, I don't know if the spectators would say it's fun to be slammed around with a 10,000-pound truck like that, but we certainly enjoy watching it. There's a look at Overkill. Kirk Dabney will stage next against the Big Blue Ford, the Bigfoot of Eric Meager. There's Dabney out of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
You talk about a guy coming back from adversity. He's like the Phoenix, man. He, at the beginning of the year, was not going to make the next round. Dabney worked his way back. But who's he get in this round? None other than the up-and-coming kid, the new gunslinger, if you will, Eric Meager, the gentleman in the sport. But again, I keep going back to the starter. You can't read this guy. I kind of like it. When he's going to send you to the other end.
Hang on. Speaking of being at the other end, the other side, Eric Meager wins it. Almost got tapped by Dabney in Overkill. He had some trouble in that shutdown lane, but there was no contact, so no fouls. We look at it again, and in this area right here is where Eric Meager picks up the victory, goes on to the next round of competition here in Springfield, and there you can see just how close it really wasn't. It looked closer from the other angle. And here is Eric Meager with Army.
Eric Meager and the Bigfoot team seem to have found the motion or the rhythm or whatever it is of old days. It looks like it's just flowing for you.
Yeah, Army, we're back on track, but this is definitely a team effort. What you're seeing here tonight is the result of a lot of hard teamwork, a lot of time too. We didn't just come right out the gate like we normally do, and we didn't have that rhythm obviously, but looks like we found the rhythm, and hopefully we're going to have it from now to the end of the year and take us into first place. That's what we're looking for.
Of course, a good driver and a very good interview as well. As we take a look at the young lady, Pam Botters, the Boogie Van has been a pleasant surprise this weekend here in Springfield, and there is a tall order for Pam in the form of the Power Wheels Bigfoot and Dan Runte.
You know, so many times we don't get to show all the first-round competition. As Dan Runte's graphic comes up on the screen, he's driving the Bigfoot Power Wheels. But this is a story here. Husband and wife team. She does the driving. And Gary Lee, you will agree with me, she can drive a monster truck as good as any guy in this world. All this team needs is a break. This might be what they're looking for.
A major sponsor with a lot of money for horsepower would certainly help. But Pam Botters, her husband Mike, come out of Hagerstown, Maryland. And they have a long haul across the country, but they're always here every weekend competing, and she's making an improvement every weekend as well. Strong run about halfway down. They were side by side, but Runte pulls it out of 5:12 for Dan Runte and Power Wheels. And Pam Botter will have to go back and watch the rest of the competition from the trailer.
You could actually hear Runte burping the throttle on the final jump, going whop, 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 trying to keep the motor up in an RPM range. He is looking good, Gary.
It has been a challenge this weekend for the crew chiefs to keep those engines tuned and in some cases detuned because of the heat and the humidity.
Dan, we talked to Eric Meager a minute ago, and he says it's a team effort. He's not taking any credit at all, but you drivers are doing an awfully good job. They're giving you good bullets, but you're hitting the target.
Yeah, we are, Army. A lot of it's lane choice. Firestone tires are hooking up good. We got to give a lot of credit to Firestone out here because there isn't much left of this track. The crew's working with us real well, and he is right. It is a team effort. We're taking these Fords to the finals again.
And it will be Ford against Chevrolet coming up in the semis. Great crowd here. You're with us. You stay with us. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Springfield, Missouri. We are here for the Dodge Monster Drags, and wanted to take you down to the starting line at the ramp and get a better view of what the track conditions are like. Here's Army.
Gary, we are on the ramp, but we're not on the jump side of the ramp. We're on the down side of the ramp, and I want to bring something to your attention. Look how it's scooped out down here. What the trucks are doing is they're going over the ramp, but they're keeping the front wheels up. And right here where I'm standing, the back wheels are touched down, getting the bite and sending them down the track. They're not rolling this way. They're actually doing this, and they're starting to scoop out a rut on the down side of the ramp, not the start side of the ramp.
Pretty impressive, a wheelie with a 10,000-pound truck off the starting line. There are your semifinal pairings, Chevrolet against Ford in both pairings. Here is one Ford, Power Wheels. That's the Bigfoot Ford out of St. Louis, Missouri, Dan Runte. And there's a look at one of the Chevrolets, the Privateer, Gary Porter, and the Carolina Crusher.
Well, you know, wherever we go across the country, the Chevrolet fans really get behind Porter and support him. And again, there's the guy. He's kind of like the Blues Brothers. It's night and he's wearing sunglasses. He's 100 miles from home, got a full tank of gas. What are we going to do? We're going to race monster trucks.
Well, I think it's interesting. You saw that big Dodge banner, Dodge sponsoring this event this weekend, and the Dodge boys are on the truck watching the Chevy Bowtie Brigade and the big Fords.
Bowtie Brigade and the Blue Oval Bunch.
Ford's going to go on, and that bow tie will be headed for the trailer. Dan Runte, a 5.06 in the Power Wheel. So we have one Ford in the finals already. And once again, he's using that unusual driving style of burping the throttle several times as he goes over the second set of cars. But he wins it. He goes on to the finals, and he's with Army.
Dan, a 5.06. That's quick time of the night. It's got to be feeling good to you to run that fast.
Yeah, it is, Army. The truck's working better. It's cooling off a little bit out here. The motor's running better. Blower's actually starting to work a little harder. It's cooling down. Gary's leaning them back a little bit. We're getting more power out of them. We're just looking for lane choice now, hopefully putting both these Fords in the finals.
Well, the other Ford he speaks of course, is Eric Meager in Bigfoot. There's the Bigfoot Ford in the near lane. And the far lane, the Samson truck, the Chevrolet of Dan Patrick.
Patrick's sponsored by the high-tech people in the Quaker State Oil. Does a real good job. He's a privateer quasi, if you will. He gets a little bit of help from a few people around the country. He's trying to pick up that big sponsor. I noticed Race Rock starting to appear in the name. It's a new restaurant going in down the Orlando, Florida area. That name appears not only on Samson, but also on the Bigfoot trucks. So we have to keep an eye on that. Speaking of names, you hear both the Bigfoot team drivers talking about Gary Saline. Well, Gary Saline is a crew chief on their trucks, but he's also a crew member of the NHRA alcohol funny car team of Bob Newberry. That's where he stays up to date with the latest technology. Drag racing NHRA style brings it over to monster truck MTRA style.
Bottom line, it's all horsepower. Kinds of trouble for Samson. Boy, it was close moments after they started, and Samson got in trouble. And once again, we'll have a pair of Fords in the finals. Eric Meager takes the win, but it looked like Samson got the whole shot. They left together, but right here, something breaks in that Chevrolet, and the Ford goes out the other end to take the victory. And the driver's with Army.
Beating Dan Patrick is no easy chore, is it?
No, it's not. Dan's been around for a long time. He's probably a little more involved in this motorsport than Reach the Eye here. Me and Dan are good friends, but friendship kind of goes out the door when you get up on the track there.
And Eric, of course, will take on his teammate for the championship here in Springfield. The Dodge Monster Drags, like the four-wheel Jamborees, are part of the Special Events Performance Series. Visit the manufacturer's Midway or check out the several categories of show and shine competition. To find out when a Jamboree or Monster Drag will be in your area, contact the Special Events Promotion Company and take part in this four-wheel fun. And speaking of four-wheel fun, if you can't afford a monster truck, perhaps you can afford something like this. Some highlights from the tough truck competition. David Hutchinson in the 1980 Jeep. This was earlier this evening, and he was clocked at a 36:38.
Well, the crowd really gets involved in this. The announcers at the special events program gets the crowd involved, and they'll start chanting and hollering for their own brand and everything. It's meant to be fun, but it'll get serious real quick. It all ends when you touch a tire on the other end.
Yeah, and you hope to keep your tires
Exactly.
on the ground.
Well, David had a little bit of problem here. Got that whip antenna going, working around, got a helmet, seatbelt, and everything. Over
Yeah, a little air. No, we're not using the tire this weekend. The drivers didn't want the tire. All right, here's a crowd favorite, the 73 Blue Bronco of John Foltz. Now, he clocked in at 30.94. A little more abusive he is on the equipment.
Well, the truck's a little bit older and doesn't belong to him either. That's
Oh,
what
yes,
you got to
yes,
look
it does. Yeah, it's his truck. He didn't rent it for the weekend. That's it. We can take a rental car out here and try it.
We could get our boss's rental car and try it.
That's in his name.
Everybody's having a problem at that 180 to the right.
Let's see how much air he can get here.
Listen to the crowd.
They're gonna hiss and boo over this one. Now, Tim McHugh, the quick one, the winning time of 29.88 in his 85 black Jeep. Now, you talk about the crowd. Listen for the crowd to start chanting air, air, air.
He can hear them. What does he do?
He has to negotiate that tight
Lose. Yeah, now we come back to
right-hander.
it right now. If he's going to show off, if he's going to fly. Not bad.
They weren't too pleased with that, but yeah, he had the winning time anyway at 29.68. Crowd is ready for the finals, and that's next on the agenda. We're coming back with the final. Welcome back to Springfield, Missouri, the Dodge Monster Drags. We are ready for the finals here at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. Dan Runte in a Ford against Eric Meager in a Ford. And earlier, Army talk with Eric Meager prior to the finals.
This is what you're looking for when you rolled in. 2 Fords in the final.
That's right. Here we are again. We've been in this scenario before. I'd like nothing better to take another win. Didn't win lane choice there, but the lanes don't seem that different. I haven't run there all night, but something tells me we're going to run it as hard as we can, and hopefully we'll come out with a win out of the bad lane.
Something tells me something else. Your boss is standing right over there. He's watching like a hawk. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
That's the man,
Yeah,
Bob Chandler. 20 years of monster truck racing. It's amazing, isn't it?
Third race in a row. These two have met now. So it's Eric Meager, Dan Runte. There's Runte in the power wheels. He'll be the near lane. The far lane will be Eric Meager. Meager said he's not been in this lane so far this evening, but as he indicated, both lanes are very, very similar.
I don't think it's going to bother him at all. Getting back to the fellow Bob Chandler, you know, he keeps a low profile. We just kind of glanced the camera over. Think how many millions of people that he's entertained since he started this thing called monster truck racing. Heck of a guy, isn't he?
Well, of course, he never, ever envisioned a monster truck series as we have now. He first built one for a display purpose, an exhibition for his four-wheel drive service there outside St. Louis. All right, we're ready. Ford against Ford. Ooh, who are they going to give it to, Army?
The
Dan
Ford.
Runte. Yeah, well, certainly 5.06. Dan Runte by what? A couple of inches, maybe. Well, of course, Dan won the last time these two guys raced at night, and he takes this victory by a mere inches, and he's now with Army.
Well, you're the winner. You're going to be signing autographs for a long, long time. All these people are tickled to death to see you take this win.
I think they are too, Army. It was tough out there, like I just told the crowd here. Eric went over there in the left lane and ran a real competitive run. You know, I can't say enough about how good these two Fords ran all day and how straight and how consistent. We just ended up the winners, and that's great.
Get your Sharpie out. There's a ton of people want your autograph. Congratulations.
Thanks, Army. Appreciate it.
What's that old comedy record? When you're hot, you're hot. I tell you what, these Ford drivers are hot right now. Bob Chandler's bunch on a tear. Well, Dan Runte now still leads, but Eric Meager has moved to second, dropping Fred Schaefer to third. We hope you've enjoyed today's monster truck racing from Springfield, Missouri. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's news of an exciting video release from Diamond P Sports.
Thanks, buddy.